Okay, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to today's sharing of Harmonize to Energize. My name is Terry Matthews. I've been practicing JIN SHIN JYUTSU for some 30 years. Welcome everybody. I hope you're doing well. And a warm welcome to anybody who's completely brand new. JIN SHIN JYUTSU is an art of harmonizing life energy, or chi or ki as it's sometimes called, as it moves through energy pathways in the body. Sometimes it doesn't move as smoothly as we would like, and in JIN SHIN JYUTSU we have what we call safety energy locks. The acupuncturists call them points, but our energy locks are much larger than the acupuncture points. They're the width of the palm of your hand. And there's 26 of them, left and right at the spine and 3 in the arms. And by placing our palms of our hands, our fingertips, thumbs, back of hands, depending on your individual situation, we can control to a degree the way in which that energy can move. It's a combination really of us being able to place our hands on these energy locks and also being relaxed enough to allow the adjustments, if that makes sense. So Mary Eno Burmeister brought JIN SHIN JYUTSU to the West back in the, I think it was the early 70s in California. She had learned from a teacher or master, Sensei Jiro Murai, and he had asked her, would she bring this gift back from Japan to America? And apparently she said, absolutely, or yes, or whatever it was in Japanese. And, and from that time forward, when she moved back to America, she began experimenting with JIN SHIN JYUTSU just on her family and her friends. And then gradually word got around that there was a bit of a miracle worker in the neighborhood. And there's a story which I may not get totally right, so I probably won't retell it right now. But anyway, she emerged from that smaller circle of friends and family and got connected to a chiropractor, I believe, who was going away on vacation, and he recommended one of his clients to go visit Mary. And the rest is history. Apparently, the client had a really good result from this JIN SHIN JYUTSU treatment. And word is spread. And sooner or later, Mary was teaching JIN SHIN JYUTSU. She began teaching it internationally, I believe, in the 80s, late 80s. She published textbooks. There are self-help textbooks, 3 major ones, and then 2 textbooks for actually teaching someone to be a practitioner. So Harmonize2Energize is what I share on these Friday meetings. And every so often we're blessed that someone from the community is willing or cajoled into coming and sharing their stories, perhaps, their inspiring stories of how JIN SHIN JYUTSU helped them or some of their clients, and shares with us some self-help. So without further ado, let's introduce to you today's mystery presenter. Yes, and there she is. To the left or right of me, it's Shari. It's Shari Beckton from Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Canada. A long-time practitioner of JIN SHIN JYUTSU. I don't know how many years, Shari, but I know you've been an organizer for a fair amount. So if we put those two together, probably at least 15 to 20 years, I would imagine, something like that. So Shari's asked me to stick around, but I'll mute myself. And I'm going to hand over the presentation to her. I just muted myself. Here you go, Shari. Welcome.
We cannot hear anything. She's muted.
You're muted, Shari. We cannot hear.
She's unmuted now.
No.
Shari, check your sound settings. Somewhere you're not connected. And the other thing I can suggest when this happens is you leave and come back in. Oh, this is a first.
Harry, can you ask her to unmute? Can you request that? And then she just has to click on it.
She's not muted.
Oh,
Wait a minute, 1 minute.
She may have muted herself on her own computer, though.
Well, that's right. That's why I asked her to look at her sound settings. If she's going to get out and come back in, let's see what happens.
Okay, good luck.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's on the spot with me again.
Hey, Terry. Can you guys see me now? Can you hear me?
Now Terry's muted. But we
Can you
can hear
guys-
you, Shari.
You
Shari,
can?
yeah, here you go.
Okay. So what I've done is I've gone off my computer because I have no idea what's wrong with it. And I'm now on my cell phone.
Perfect.
So I'm terribly sorry for any inconveniences that I have caused. This is my first Zoom presentation, so I truly apologize for issues.
No worries. No
Okay. So my name is Shari Beckton. I am a JIN SHIN JYUTSU practitioner. I started in 2022 with my first class in Nelson, BC with Anita Willoughby. And that was her very first class teaching as well. So my story starts though before that. I got a copy of Alice Burmeister's Touch of Healing book back in 1999. And it was a gift. And I read that thing from cover to cover. When I first opened it up, I was amazed that there was something that was so simple that absolutely anybody could do, and we could harmonize ourselves. And my very first interaction with JIN SHIN JYUTSU from reading the book was in June of 1999. I fell and broke, I had a fracture in my left femur. I was also studying at this time another spiritual path, and with it came spiritual mind treatment, which is understanding our connectedness to it all. and that we come from the source. So relating to Jin Shin Jyutsu, we all come from ninth depth. We know this. And so there is a man-made linear time, and then there's God's time, or Buddha's time, or Allah's time, whatever word you choose. And so it happened on a Sunday. I'm from a small town, so I didn't even think about going to emergency room or think about calling my doctor online. Like, didn't even think that he would be on call. And so I went to a Medi-Clinic here in Saskatoon, and the doctor was just horrible, 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 horrible. Sent me to go to a place for x-rays that was closed. Said, oh, you can just go to the pharmacy next door and get a pair of crutches. It's only $3 to rent for the week. And it was $30. And I was beyond. I went to the x-ray place, saw big 3-foot letters, Monday to Friday, 7 to 3. And I just said, screw it. I went home. I'm a massage therapist as well. So I knew rest, right? Rest, ice, compression, elevation. So I did those things. But before I did all of that, I got my handy dandy Jin Shin Jyutsu Touch of Healing book, propped myself up. And this is for ankles. And I held this all night long. I also did spiritual mind treatment, which is affirmative prayer. I went and saw my doctor first thing in the morning, sent me for x-rays right away. So the time from accident until the time I had x-rays was 18 hours. When he got the x-ray report back, he said, this is a 4.5-week-old break. The calculus is in perfect alignment. The healing is going along just perfect. You just need to wear a tensor bandage for the next couple of weeks and you're good to go. And I said, well, I know I did it yesterday. And he said, no, you can't, because this little piece of paper says that it's 4.5 weeks old. You must have just done something to tweak it. And I said, okay. But that was my first experience with Jin Shin Jyutsu. 18 hours for a broken bone. So after that, it was like, get me to a class on time. And so that was my start with Jin Shin Jyutsu. So I want to share with you some Jin Shin Jyutsu. I don't necessarily want to say first aid, but they are little tools that I have in my repertoire. I have to think about it. Don't have to go to my textbooks, them up. They're just what I know because I'm in handy in the past. And the first one is, I've got Libby here for you. So she's going to be my little guinea pig. I was at a conference with 1,500 people. And I mean, this is the universe at work. We had a temporary break because something technologically went wrong, much like today. And so I got up to fill my water bottle with water. And I approached the water table and there was this woman there and she was like this, kind of hunched over. And I went up to her and this is a conference of 1,500 people who've just been told they can go on break. And we were in a bubble. No one came towards us. No one entered that sphere at all. And I said, hi, my name is Shari. Are you okay? And she shook her head. No. I said, are you choking? And I tried the normal Heimlich and it didn't work. And so I walked around in front of her. I said, you don't know me, but I need you to trust me. I know what I'm doing. I walked in front of her and I put my right hand on the inside of her knee, my left hand on the inside of her right knee, and I just held it. And within 10 seconds, whatever was in there was dislodged and she could breathe again. So if you ever come across anybody who is choking, or even if yourself, you know, sometimes you get some bread or something, some crumbs, something, and you get that kind of, this will help you dislodge it. So that is number one. You need to know that, put it into your memory bank, make it what you do. For myself though, when I've swallowed incorrectly, I prefer putting my right hand on my sternum and my left hand over my belly button and just holding that. Now this is in textbook 1, and this is to help everything descend. This helps all descending flows, and it brings everything down and out. So once again, your right hand is, your fingers are facing up towards your chin, and you're putting it right on your sternum. Feel free to do it right now if you want with me. And then your left hand with your fingers pointing down, you're going to put it over your belly button and just hold that. And sometimes I do that even if I'm not choking, just because it helps everything clear that front of my body so that energy can rise up the back. It's one that I find very comfortable. Sometimes I even do it when I'm laying down. It's just a very comfortable hold. Then the next thing that is really cool, once again, here's Libby. I was at the swimming pool and we just finished our Aquasize class, and there was like 30 of us, and most of them went into the hot tub, but the hot tub at our pool is very hot. It's probably at the top end of where it should be. And so a lot of the older ladies, a lot of people, you could only go into it for a few minutes before you had to get out because you were overwhelmed from the heat. And so we were in the change room. I was in the change room with these ladies, and I said to them, if you want, and they were complaining about not being able to enjoy the hot tub. I said, if you want to enjoy the hot tub, the next time you're in, just try this little trick. Safety energy lock 8 lives on the outside of the knees, which is just opposite from, oops, where's Libby? There he is. From the 1. So it's 1 and 8. So left 8. And it's very easy to do while you're sitting in your chair. You would just cup the back of your knee and hold it. Try it right now. Put your hand on the back of your knee. Those fingers will just cup the back of your knee, and that thumb will be pointing down. And that will release the heat that your body, it cools the body. So our internal temperature does not rise, even though we are sitting in a bubbling pool of 106 degrees. It keeps us at our normal body rate. So you can use that anytime. So if you happen to be at a grandkids or your own children's baseball game and the sun is beating down on you and you're really hot and you need to cool down, left 8. Now, if you live in Saskatchewan like I do, we have -60 weather. And so sometimes I'm already cold and I don't want to get colder. I will switch and I will hold the right safety energy lock 8 because that's going to warm my body up. And one trick for remembering that is in the word warm, W-A-R-M, that tells you to go to the right 8 to warm up. And if you need to cool, C-O-O-L, the body, L tells you go to the left 8. So though that's a really handy trick. And if you are perimenopausal, menopausal, this left 8 is going to be your best friend for when those hot flashes happen. It will cool them down and you won't get hot, you won't get sweaty, you won't get that flushed red through your whole body. It works. Okay, now, back in 2017, I was diagnosed with the big label cancer. And in October of 2017, December of 2017, I had the surgery. March of 2018, I went into chemotherapy, and JIN SHIN JYUTSU saved me. I had very minimal side effects because I used JIN SHIN JYUTSU every day, all the time. If I wasn't doing something, I was holding a finger, or I was holding this, or I was doing some form of JIN SHIN JYUTSU to help myself. Now, one of the side effects that was a big one for me, that tends to be a big one for a lot of people, and not because of chemotherapy, they get ringing in the ears. It's called tinnitus. And that has to do with the umbilicus flow. Umbilicus flow goes straight into the ear. And so how I dealt with that, I mean, we have in JIN SHIN JYUTSU, there's always more than one way to access what you need. Okay, that's the first thing you need to know. You're never at a loss. There is always something you can do. The only time you are at a loss is if you don't do JIN SHIN JYUTSU. Okay, so the easiest, the quickest, the simplest for me to get rid of the ringing in my ears. And the thing is, during the day, it wasn't very bad at all because there were all the sounds going on around me. There was the TV on, there was the dog barking, there was always noise or distraction. But at night, when I laid down and everything was quiet, I couldn't sleep because of the ringing in my ears. And if I hadn't figured this out and gone to my textbooks and found what I needed, it would have driven me insane. And this is it. This is the simple putting your hands together in prayer formation. Because this is umbilicus. This is bringing all the depths into 6 depth, because everything happens here is 6 depth in the palm of our hands. I'll go into that a little bit later. But this, if you know anybody at all who has any ringing in their ears, please show them this. I would just curl up in bed and put my hands like this, just because it was a very simple, easy pose on my pillow, and I could go to sleep. Because when it first happened, I have to tell you the truth is it probably took about 3 to 5 minutes before the ringing started. But because every time whenever the ringing started, I did this, it got to the point where I just had to bring my fingers together, and within mere seconds, the ringing would stop. And the ringing, what you'll find, if you have any family or friends or yourself has gone through chemotherapy, they do say that some side effects, if they do not cease to exist after 5 years, will be with you for the rest of your life. Well, I have to say that the ringing in my ears still can crop up on me. But I think that it is just a sign, as Mary would say, if you're listening to your body, that my umbilicus function energy just needs a little extra oomph. That's a sign for me that I need to do some work for myself. So I immediately do this, and I'm helping myself. So this is very important. And if you have ever been on a long car ride and the next gas station is 100 miles away and you have to go to the bathroom, this is key. Remember this one, if for no other reason than you don't want to ever embarrass yourself. Hold your index fingers. And it doesn't matter which one, because they're connected to the kidneys and the bladder. And that will stop the urge to pee. And you may have to hold it for the whole 100 miles, but it's better than not. I have taught this to a friend who works in a park, like an amusement park. And from where she sells the tickets to where the bathroom is all the way on the other side of the park. And there isn't always time to get there. And what she does, and goes to the bathroom, holds it until she can get there, and with accident. So that.
Why is that mistake? Something like that.
Oh.
Why this song so horrible?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Okay, so the other one that I find is important. So another thing that happened to me is I rolled my car. And so, and it was on an icy patch. I hit the brakes and it swung my car into the snowbank and then rolled my car. And we get winter here 8 months out of the year, and there's ice. And for several years after that, anytime the car would kind of sway and had that sensation, panic would rise in me. And, your heart starts thumping away and you think you can't catch your breath and it feels like your chest is about to explode. And, but then it's over because it's just this little thing. So it's not that bad. So, but we were coming, we were pulling a truck behind us on a flatbed on an extremely windy day. And we had to go from one province to the next province. And the wind was such that it was coming perpendicular to us. And so this truck was swaying that we were towing all the time. And I have to tell you, the whole time it felt like that motion of wanting to roll the car. And this was my lifesaver. So I share this for you, for anybody who's having panic attacks, anybody who has heart palpitations, anytime you have a need to calm yourself. You're going to take your right finger, your thumb, and your index finger. So everybody do that. And you're going to put your left hand facing you. So let it face you. You're going to put your thumb on the bottom side of your little finger. You're going to put your index finger in between the little finger and the ring finger. Yep. And then these three fingers are going to wrap around that ring finger. So it's like you're taking these two fingers that you would pinch somebody with, and you're going to pinch the little finger. Think of it as pinching that little finger. And then these three fingers are going to wrap around the ring finger on the left hand. So you're going to, with your right hand, you're going to pinch your left little finger. And these three fingers on your right hand, you're going to wrap them around your ring. And then then everybody just relax. And you don't have to white knuckle it. You just are making contact. This is just energy. And I was thinking about this as I was going to try to explain it to you. When we jumper cable from one car to the other car, we are just, both cars are off. One can't start. The other one's got a great battery. We connect two cables to the good battery, and then we run it over and we connect to the battery that won't start. And all those clamps do really is they just make the connection. They aren't biting in, right? They're not shimming or shaking or doing anything. They're just connecting. That's all they're doing. And so when we do JIN SHIN JYUTSU, that's all we're looking to do, is make a connection. So it's not about how tight you can hold it. It's just making the connection. Now, I have to tell you, at the start of the journey, while that truck was moving, I was gripping pretty hard. But as my system started to relax, my breathing normalized, my heart stopped racing, and I calmed down, it became just that holding, just that connection, because that's what really helped. Now, the other thing that is really good is if you have somebody who has nausea, or yourself, I'll show you with someone else. At the back of our head, we have these two bumps called the occipital bones. If you put your hand back there, you can feel where those occipital bones are. You go into the middle, and it's really just one finger length down, and you will be on cervical vertebrae 2. You're going to hold that or have them hold that themselves, and you make a finger with your thumb and index, and your thumb is over the nail bed. And that will stop anybody who is feeling nauseous. Morning sickness is a totally different ball of wax. And you can't really do it for yourself. You need someone else to. And on a person, you would go down to where the last ribs are. And on the spine, that's where T12 is when you're landmarking. That's thoracic vertebrae 12. And the hold for that is the middle of the wrist on the back of the hand. And that is for morning sickness. So you do those two things together. So if Libby here was pregnant and was having morning sickness and it was really bothering her, I would go and I would hold her T12 and I would hold the back of her wrist like that. And that will help anybody who has morning sickness. Now, I was at my second JIN SHIN JYUTSU class when I learned this one. And we had just learned this, and we went out for supper with a group of people. And this one woman had a very severe reaction to MSG. And so she asked the waiter and the manager if they added MSG to the food, and they said no, they didn't. And so she felt comfortable ordering a meal, and she had one bite. Her lips started blistering. Her tongue swelled in her mouth, making it almost hard for her to talk. And she was sitting right beside me. And so I was like, oh my God, I know what to do. So you take your right hand and you put it on the back of the left neck, right where the crease is, where the dent is, right there. Fingers pointing down. And I kid you not, I mean, this is why I love JIN SHIN JYUTSU, because you can see results like sometimes so super fast. Within 30 seconds, she was back to normal. No blisters, no swelling of the tongue. It was just absolutely amazing. So this is something you want to keep in your toolbox. So that was a food allergy, but it's any type of allergy, any type of blockage in the throat area. You want to use that, or have them do it for themselves. So I'm not sure how much more time do I have, Terry?
You're doing absolutely fine. It's 20 minutes to the top of the hour. I could listen to you all day, Shari. You're bringing out some really amazing information, some of which I hadn't heard before, and some of which I had and forgot. And someone has already asked you to repeat. Oh, wait a minute. Is it good for bee stings? I think that might have been the one where you're reducing panic. I'm not sure. Whoever that was, can you say what you were asking there? Unmute yourself.
This one will work for bee stings as well, because it can create that anaphylactic closing throat. So that's one that you can do. There are others.
Yeah, so if anyone has any, Shari, did you want to say anything else, expand on anything, or are you open now for questions? Which way do you want to go?
Oh, I have 2 pictures to share with people,
Oh, okay, go right ahead.
except I don't think I can.
Oh, yeah. Can you just
But I-
show them, put them in front? There you go. Oops, where'd you go?
Can everybody see that?
For some reason, it's disappearing. It's
There.
coming and going. Yeah. This is a situation, friends, where if you want these pictures, you'll have to send me your email and I'll send it to Shari and she can forward them to you. Do you want to say something? Most
definitely.
Yeah. Do you want to say something? It looks to me as though it's the attitudes and the organ functions. Is that right?
It's a picture of the hand, or I should put my left hand up. It's a picture of the hand. And one of the things that Mary says is, like, and my instructors, we are constantly moving through the depths, right? And that's good, because that's energy that is in motion. And that's what we're looking for. We want our energy to be in harmony and in motion. It's when our energy starts to stagnate and we get stuck in attitudes that disharmonizes us. The energy can't move like it should. And it's not even, I don't want to should on anybody, because that's not what it is. Our energy has a natural pathway, a natural flow. The universe has a natural pathway and a flow of energy. But sometimes that energy can get stagnated, or it can get deviated off its path. It can intermingle with other flows. And that's when it starts to create disharmony and havoc within our bodies. And one of the disharmonizers, or not one of them, but what disharmonizes us is our attitudes. And so this chart is created to show you that. And it's the thumb, and we want to get rid of worry, FAST. So it's, the thumb is the attitude of worry. The index finger is the attitude of fear. The middle finger is A, anger. The ring finger is S, sadness and grief. And the little finger is T, the trying tos. And I'll go into those just a little bit later. So we want to get rid of worry, FAST, fast, fear, anger, sadness, trying tos. Now, I think, Shari, you're going to have to invite me back because I have so much information about the hands that I wanted to share.
Yeah, I am more than happy to do that. And, you know, I had this idea a couple of weeks back. I was speaking to some folks that I might even invite 3 of you and have some kind of panel and you can all bounce off one another. But you know what, Shari, I would definitely invite you back. And, you know, I am just really filled, you know, full in the nicest kind of way. I've been fed here with some reminders and some really useful reminders at that. And I just want to say, because I think someone was asking about the panic hold, I'm assuming from what I saw, you are holding the pinky finger on the left to encourage the exhale, and also because it's the side where the heart is that correct?
It is.
Yes, that's what I thought.
Part of it.
Yeah,
This is the heart finger,
right.
and this is the lung finger,
Right,
but this is also the finger where the diaphragm and the umbilicus flow, which is 6th depth, which is the big breath of life, right? Lung, little breath of life. So yeah, it's very important in
yeah.
helping that panic.
Yeah, you know, I vaguely remember someone, you know, I would normally go to these 2 fingers anyway, but I vaguely remember maybe it was Sarah or maybe it was Philomena showing that hold, but I'd completely forgotten about it. Yeah. So that's, there are some people on this webinar today who I think are going to find a lot of this information really useful. And you know who you are, I don't have to mention. And this other one, the hand with the fingers pointing up and the fingers pointing down to help the descending. This is part of directionality. Were you talking about the 78 text or text 1? Is that, yeah?
Believe it or not, it's text 1. For those of you who have taken a class, it is text 1, page 10.
Right, right. Yeah, I just vaguely thought the understanding of that perhaps was more defined in the 78 text, but yeah.
There's a reason for everything.
Right.
What lives right here on our sternum is 4th depth.
Right.
4th depth is a janitor. It cleans the house. But it is also a bridge to 6th depth, which is umbilicus, and lives very close to the umbilicus on the pubic bone. So we are opening the bridge between 4th depth and 6th depth. We are helping all descending. So there are 6 descending flows that we are helping move. We are helping the kidney function energy and the bladder function energy here in 4th depth, which is about filtration, and it's the chemical river of life. It's when it's in harmony, it means flow. FLOW, to be in the flow of things. So if I have something stuck, I want to be in the flow of life. I want to be in the flow with the universe. I want to be in harmony. And so to be in harmony, I have to let go of the stuckness of whatever it is. 6 depth, diaphragm is, as I said, that big breath of life. It's what feeds us. It's what nourishes us. We can live with pretty much anything, but if we can't breathe, we're dead. Umbilicus is the total body nurturer, right? And so I am looking to be nurtured, because I know that there's something stuck and I'm not in the flow. So this hold is, I mean, to me, this hold is one of the most powerful. If I wanted to reduce all of Jin Shin Jyutsu down to 2 holds, this is one, because this helps everything descend. And then I would rotate my hands, holding the same places, but this helps everything ascend. And that's it in a nutshell.
Down the front, up the back, yeah. Yeah, wow. Thank you for that. You know, I'm really not sure I've ever heard that explanation and explained so clearly. You know, it might have been one of those days where I was nodding off or something, but you know, that page is often, you know, people don't clearly get it. It's one of those pages, I think, which isn't always fully understood or clarified, but I think you did a great job. You did a great job.
Because I use it.
Right.
That page. I love that page.
Yeah.
There's more information I could throw out.
Yeah.
I want to show this. I don't know if everybody can see it.
Yeah.
This is a wooden copy of that hand. And so, Terry, I would really like to get my computer fixed so that we don't have any issues. And I would love to share the handouts that I have. And I would love to talk to everybody about hands and how simple it is, that even if I've been in a class where we had a gentleman who had an amputated arm, and I got to work with him, and I still, by judging where his other arms were, I held his fingers, his phantom fingers, and he felt the energy moving through his body. So even if you don't have the fingers, or you don't have the organ anymore because your gallbladder got taken out, or your spleen got taken out, or you've lost a toe, the blueprint, the energetic blueprint, which is really what we're working with, it's still there. That energy is still moving through your body, and we can access it. But I have a whole bunch of notes. Sorry that I didn't get to it, everybody. I just got to give you my little quickie first aids that I have experienced in my life, tools that will help you go forward in your life. And you know what? Use them on yourself, use them with your family, and share them with everybody. And if there are any questions, I'll stay here as long as you need me to.
Yeah, so are there any questions, everyone? Anyone want to raise their hand or just unmute themselves?
Yeah, it's Diana. I was a little confused of the sternum, how you were holding it. Looked like you might have had your thumb over your index. And then
Nope.
were you holding the 15 right above the pubic area at the same time?
So my hand is flat
Oh, all right. Okay,
and my hand is right here.
okay.
Now, that's because I'm a larger person. I can't get to my pubic bone, but you could use your pubic bone. But it's all between here, the umbilicus and the pubic bone, 6 depth limbs. So you can access, you know, it once again, it's we don't have to. It's not like archery, okay, or darts, where you want to hit, like for you to think that it works, you have to hit the bullseye, right? You can be this width away, the palm of your hand, and you are still connecting to that sphere of influence, right?
That's really good to know because I have very bad tendonitis and sometimes I can't do the holds. But what you're saying is if I'm just kind of hovering above and not, you know, crimping my tendons, it'll still work.
In Shinjitsu, just so you know, what Mary says is you need to be in comfort, right? So if this is uncomfortable for you, you can, I sometimes put my fingertips in there if that's easier, right? Once again, it's always about making contact, right? So whether you do your fingertips, you do the tips of your finger, you lay your whole hand down. It's all about connection, right? It's not about force. And so, yeah, you can just, you know, for me, I like to get that. I like to get my whole hand here because it feels comforting to me. So this is for me, but you could easily do it this way. But Terry is right. Directionality, we want our fingertips going up and down. Where?
There you go.
As you can see, it's about, okay, it's about direction. Have you talked about this? Have you talked about?
I haven't gone into the textbook material. I mean, if it's not referenced strongly in the self-help books, I haven't. But, you know, I'm more and more open to whoever comes on. And if they want to connect to something, that's great.
Well, if you guys have a textbook, self-help, textbook 3, page 6 does talk about directionality because it's the jumper cable star, the star I am. And so basically, the easiest way to think of it is our left hand energy flows down and out the palms of our tips of our fingers. So if this is going this way, then the palm of our hand or the surface, back of our hand energy will move that way, up. I'm just giving you the short version.
Yeah. Yeah.
show you the whole thing. So on the right hand, energy goes from our fingertips down and down that way. Correlating would be energy on the back of our hand going towards the fingertips. So I don't know if you see that. Can you see that, guys?
Yeah, but it's a little vague.
Sorry, I should have, I don't have a felt marker.
Well, maybe remove the wallpaper and yeah.
Maybe that'll do it. None. Okay, there we are.
Yeah.
Okay, so there we have it. Can you see that? Energy is flowing from our left palm down through our fingertips and from our fingertips of our right hand down. So when I take my right hand and I place it right here, the energy is moving down my body. When I take my left hand and I put it here, my energy is moving down my fingertips. So I'm just going to move my hands up so you can see them. So this is moving energy down. This is moving energy down. So that is why this hold helps everything descend the body.
Perfect.
Now, if I want to help everything ascend, which means go up, I switch.
The dog agrees. Yeah.
It's so good of it.
That's perfect. Well,
Any other questions?
I think we're at the gone past our time a little bit here.
Okay.
And so I think people have really enjoyed it. You know what I did once, and I don't know, are you free next week?
Sure.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Let me just double check.
Yeah.
Next Friday. Yes.
Perfect. I had LA have the same situation where he had so much to share, he couldn't get it all in one. So I had him the following week as well. Next week, my friends, we're going to follow up, and Shari will experiment with her computer, and we'll see if we can get that sorted out. But thank you, Shari. This was wonderful. It was so educational for me as well, and it's lovely to be reminded. It's also lovely to learn something new, because I hadn't heard some of that stuff before. But folks, I hope you'll agree that I think Shari has an exhaustive amount of information here, which she has so generously shared, and I hope it's all been very useful. And you know, the replay will be up in about 24 hours, so you can run through it. Before we invite Shari back to continue. The journey continues with Shari Beckton from Saskatchewan. Well, sorry, it is Saskatchewan, isn't it? Yeah. Yep. Yeah, in Canada. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Shari. It was absolutely wonderful. I'm going to stop the recording now.
You.